Welcome to another episode of the Bobcast. With the NBA draft coming up in a few days, we're going to look at 5 NBA draft steals. For the sake of this video, we're only going to look at players projected outside of the top 10. Some of the players that I've scouted and recommended in the past include Giannis in 2015, Jimmy Butler in 2013, Kemba Walker in 2012, Jaylen Brown, D'Angelo Russell, Michael Porter Jr., OG Anunoby, and Donovan Mitchell before their drafts, and then more recently, Anfernee Simons on the Trailblazers while he was in high school, and Shake Milton on the Sixers while he was in college, who we'll have to watch out for in the coming years. It's important to know that to draft a future NBA All-Star or solid role player, you have to focus on potential, and because of this, player development and game time are crucial, and not every player is going to get this immediately. That's why it takes a few years for some players to get into better situations, like Jimmy Butler, or like my favorite player of all time, Mr. Big Shot, Chauncey Billups. So while the players on this list might not show out immediately, it might just take them some time to develop and get adjusted before they really mature and reach their true potential. With that being said, let's get right into this year's biggest NBA draft steals. Cassius Stanley, freshman guard, Duke University. There's a ton of Duke players that could get drafted, but among all of them, I think Stanley is the best, and he's projected to go the lowest amongst them, at around the mid to late 40th pick. At that late in the draft, it's extremely rare to find someone like Stanley, a young player with a mid to high floor and a much higher ceiling. While his offensive game is not completely polished, Stanley is one of the most gifted athletes I have ever seen, right up there with Zion and Blake Griffin and the likes. This is him as a 9th grader in high school. That's a dunk that 95% of NBA players just cannot do, and it's not just his athleticism that stands out. He's a 47.4% shooter from the field, shoots 46% from 3, and scored almost 13 points a game on a fantastic 57% true shooting percentage. That is seriously elite levels of scoring. Oh yeah, and he's only 21 years old. This is a player who could be a rock-solid wing player for years to come, and if he's able to develop the ability to create his own shot, maybe even a future perennial all-star. Immanuel Quickley, sophomore guard, Kentucky. Projected to go in around the late 30s or early 40s, Quickley is another pick that offers unbelievable value. This might sound crazy, but Quickley is a player who, if put in the right position, I think can be one of the best players in this entire draft class. Now that's a big if, and most of the time players don't end up in ideal situations, but I truly do believe Quickley has all the tools to be a consistent 20 plus points per game scorer in the NBA. He was one of the best shooters in college basketball, shooting over 92% from the free throw line and almost 43% from 3, making over 2 a game. And this is a perfect example of where blindly looking at simple stats would be a mistake, and demonstrates the true value of advanced statistics. If you looked at his 41.7% field goal percentage, you would think Quickley is a poor shooter. This couldn't be farther from the truth because of the fact that half of the shots he takes per game are 3-pointers, which is evidenced by his absolutely absurd 60% true shooting percentage. Quickley can score at all 3 levels, has developed a great floater game, and a solid but not flashy handle to go along with his elite spot-up shooting. And with a 6'9" wingspan, and someone who can move his feet well and shown the ability to pressure on ball, he can become a solid defender as well. Keep your eye on Quickley, folks. If he ends up on the right team, you could be looking at a future NBA star. Nico Manion, freshman guard, Arizona. Nico Manion is such an intriguing prospect because he is so raw compared to everyone else on this list. His stats are not going to blow you out of the water. He shot less than 40% from the field and under 33% from 3. But the important thing to remember is that Mannion was running the show at one of the best teams in the nation as a freshman. He still has a ton of maturing and developing to do, but he passes everything you want to see on the eye test compared to the modern NBA guards. He's crafty with the ball, has a solid and tight handle, is good hitting off the dribble 3-pointers, catch and shoot 3-pointers, and loves to do work off the bounce in the mid-range, and even has a decent floater game as well. What's more is that he has an extremely high basketball IQ for a 19-year-old, and even though his shooting percentages weren't great, his shooting motion is absolute perfection. He obviously has questions on the defensive end, but as a 19-year-old, if he lands in the right spot and is able to develop consistency, I could see Nico Manion being the face of an NBA franchise in the future. Jordanwara, junior forward, Louisville. Look, all I'm going to say is that whoever drafts Jordanwara at around the 50th pick, which is where he's expected to go, needs to give him minutes immediately. This is a guy who reminds me so much of Jaylen Brown, and is someone who I think can eventually become one of the best players in the NBA at pick 50. He is a classic high floor, high ceiling prospect, and at pick 50, that's just an absolute steal. Nwora is an effortless scorer from all three levels. He shot over 40% from 3 and made 2.5 threes a game. He's excellent at getting to the rim. He has a solid handle for a forward, and he has fantastic defensive instincts and leadership skills. He makes the right switches and the right reads, and is sneakily athletic, enough to be scary in transition or on a chase down block. His average of 17 points a game, with an offensive rating of 113.5 and a defensive rating of 94.2, were some of the best in the entire country. At worst, Nwora is a solid 3-and-D wing, and at best, he is a two-way, 25 plus points per game star. Folks, watch out for Jordanwara. Kyrah Lewis Jr., sophomore guard, Alabama. Projected to go during the mid-first round, it might be hard to call Kyrah Lewis Jr. a steal. But when you consider that he might be the best guard prospect in the draft. Yes, you heard that right. A better prospect than Lamelo Ball or Anthony Edwards, who are both top 3 projected picks. Then the value of KLJ starts to become interesting. Kyrah Lewis Jr. reminds me a lot of another highly touted guard in last year's draft. One that just won the NBA Rookie of the Year award, Ja Morant. Kyrah Lewis Jr. checks every single box you look for in a future star point guard. He's an extremely athletic point guard who might be the quickest player in the draft and has a lightning fast first step that enables him to get to the rim whenever he wants. He has a very good looking jump shot that he uses to make off the dribble pull-up threes, smooth mid-range jumpers, and even catch and shoot field goals. Kyrah Lewis Jr. can do it all. Not only can he put the ball in the basket from anywhere on the court, he does it efficiently. He shot almost 37% from 3 and 46% overall. When you combine that with his very solid playmaking abilities, averaging over 5 assists a game last year, and a very high defensive potential due to his ability to jump passing lanes and his quick feet, you're looking at someone who could eventually be one of the best guards in the NBA. Well, there you have it, guys. These are some of the potential NBA steals that I think could surprise a lot of people. Even though this draft might not have the generational eye-catching talent at the top of the draft, I really think this is a draft that is very deep, and there could be a ton of really great role players and starters even throughout the late second round. Let us know in the comments below if you think I missed anyone, and be sure to tell us who you think is the best player in the NBA draft. As always, hit that like and subscribe button if you're interested in weekly NBA content and betting tips, and we'll see you in the next video.